Hello, everyone. Good evening. Um, Doing this live talk after a gap of many weeks because I was tied up in a lot of other aspects in my career, in my life, etc. So I could not able to come live before all of you and continue our journey on career-related discussions that we used to do every Sunday. So, wanted to again come back live with one more topic and try to see that, I'm sure that you might have gained a little bit of understanding, a little bit of learning from the previous discussions, from the previous live talks that we had. And we will continue with the same journey today again. We will touch upon one more subject which is related to your career growth. So friends, quickly मैं अपना परिचय दे देता हूँ. Let me give you my introduction. Who am I? My name is 𝐔𝐧𝐝𝐞𝐫𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐧𝐝 Chakrabarty. I'm an ICF certified trainer, ICF certified coach, IDD certified trainer, also an author. My last book was published in the month of June, and currently I'm actually working on my next book. Hopefully by first quarter of next year, the new book will be published. So as a part of this particular talk, जो मैं हमेशा आप लोगों को ये बताता हूँ कि आपका अगर कोई comment रहेगा on the topic that we are going to talk about, then feel free to put your comment, put your perspective, put your opinion on the comment section. Let me know what exactly you feel on the topics that we are going to discuss this particular evening. One more point as a disclaimer, whatever I share here, मैं जो भी यहाँ पे आप लोगों के सामने शेयर करता हूँ, those are purely my personal learning, my personal opinion, my personal point of view. ये कोई organizations का perspectives को दर्शाता नहीं है. It is not displaying the opinion on behalf of any particular organization. I'm not representing any organization. These are purely my personal learnings and thoughts and perspectives that I am going to share with all of you. Okay, so with that disclaimer, let me initiate today's discussion. And before we go into the subject, कुछ questions जो will help all of you to come to the topic that we are talking about this evening. So the first question that I do have is, how many of you feel that feedback is an important part of your career growth? क्या आपको लगता है कि जो feedback plays, the feedback that you receive in your organization or you give that feedback to somebody else, plays an important role in your career or not? So that's the first question that I do have. आपको क्या लगता है, feedback एक important role play करता है या नहीं? So whatever you feel like, you can put it in the comment section that yes or no. And you can also write a few lines why you think yes, if you think no, why you think no. I'm sure that you will write that it is yes, because in most of the cases, feedback is considered to be very important. So thanks, Deep, for your comment. So Deep is saying yes, feedback is important. Yeah, so it's quite obvious. ऐसा नया कुछ नहीं है इसमें. Now the question is that I have for you is, obviously, since we are discussing on this particular topic, do you want to know how to use the feedback for your career growth? क्या आप जानना चाहते हो कि feedback को किस तरह से आपकी career growth के लिए आप इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो, आप use कर सकते हो? And I'm sure you would like to know that. Lots of things have been talked about regarding feedback. I'm sure in your career you have heard lot of things. आपने बहुत सारी पढ़ाई की होगी इसके ऊपर, बहुत सारे केस स्टडीज आपने पढ़े होंगे, बहुत सारे बुक्स आपने पढ़े होंगे on the importance of feedback. As a part of this particular session, हम लोग यहाँ पे जो भी बातें करते हैं, यहाँ पे the main intention is to remind you things which are important, because आपने इतनी सारी पढ़ाई की है पूरी लाइफ में, उससे पूरा एक मोटी किताब बन जाती है, right? It's sometimes difficult to pick and choose those important aspects from your book of your life, from the knowledge, from the worst things that you've learned till now. Pick those very important things which may impact you in your day-to-day corporate life. Here we are talking about corporate life mostly, right? So that's why uh, consider these particular sessions as the reminder. ये एक reminder के जैसा काम करते हैं आपके लिए. So Deep is saying feedback is important to improve our direction and way of working. Yes, very true. Thank you so much for that point. Very, very rightly mentioned. Now, first of all, हम लोग we will try to define what is feedback all about. What is this feedback? The term feedback. I'll also give you some examples that I have how feedback has helped me personally in my career. किस तरह से feedback मेरे career में important था. मैंने इसका क्या क्या फायदा उठाया in my own career. So I'll be talking about some of those examples also with all of you. सबसे पहले हम अगर definition देखते हैं feedback की. So feedback is the breakfast of champions. किसने बोला था? So this was told by Ken Blanchard, a renowned American author. So he was an American author and a management expert. He said that feedback is the breakfast of the champions, right? Breakfast किस लिए important होता है? हम लोग सब जानते हैं कि breakfast is considered to be the most important meal of your day. आपका breakfast बहुत अच्छा होना चाहिए. At least one set of people have that kind of a thought process, right? कि आपका breakfast बहुत अच्छा होना चाहिए. Breakfast आपको सारे दिन के लिए आपको energy देता है, right? So that's why breakfast is important. So feedback is the breakfast for the champions. Okay, so Rakesh is saying feedback plays an important role. This helps to improve the things. Yes, obviously. So when you receive feedback, it helps you to improve certain aspects of your persona, of your personality, which helps in building your career. So yes, feedback we are talking about is the breakfast of champions. But इसके साथ मैं थोड़ा सा और add करना चाहूँगा इस particular definition के साथ. So feedback is the breakfast of champions. Hold on, but it's also a meal best served with skill and consumed with openness, right? So feedback एक ऐसा meal है जो skill के साथ अगर delivery दिया जाए और openness के साथ अगर consume किया जाए तो उसका maximum benefit मिलता है. So feedback is a breakfast of the champions, understood? But at the same time, this point is also important कि आप किस तरह से feedback देते हो और किस तरह से feedback लेते हो. Both are important. Just somebody giving very good feedback, the recipient ठीक तरह से feedback को नहीं ले रहे, then also feedback will not work. So friends, today, as the topic talked about, we are going to talk about these 3 strategies for how you use the feedback for your career success. That's what we're going to talk about. 3 strategy के बारे में हम लोग बात करेंगे. किस तरह से feedback को अपने career growth के लिए इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो. पहला जो feedback का बहुत important aspect है is receiving the feedback. How do you receive the feedback? I call it receiving the feedback gracefully, right? किस तरह से feedback को receive करते हो. Now, often, even though we know that feedback is important for our growth, but it's not easy to accept feedback, right? It's very challenging. जब हम लोग किसी से feedback लेते हैं, our mind goes through that emotional roller coaster, depending on the type of feedback we are receiving, depending on the person who is giving us feedback. It's a sort of a discomfort that we go through while receiving feedback, isn't it so? I'm sure you'll be having example of receiving difficult feedback in your life, and you might have learned something from the difficult feedback. Please go ahead and share that in the comment section. Let me share something that I received feedback. This was early in my career. I actually received the feedback when I prepared a presentation and I gave that presentation to my seniors. I was told that my presentation lacked clarity. I put a lot of stops into the presentation. मैंने बहुत भारी presentation बनाया था. मैंने सोचा था जितना भारी presentation बनाएंगे seniors उतना ज़्यादा खुश होंगे. and they will actually appreciate my effort. ये देखो बंदे ने कितना टाइम लगा के कितना भारी प्रेजेंटेशन बनाया है. But on the contrary, I was told that बहुत कुछ आपने बताया but clarity नहीं मिली. क्या exactly बताना चाहते हो? That clarity was not there. So your presentation lacked clarity. That's the feedback I received. पहला थॉट मुझे लगा अच्छा मैं बहुत अच्छा काम करता हूँ इसीलिए आप मेरे को क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हो, right? That's the thought that went through my mind. So that's the immediate response internally that I felt. हाँ, ऐसा नहीं है कि मैंने डायरेक्टली मुंह पे बोला, but मन ही मन में बहुत दुख हुआ. अरे क्या यार, इतना मतलब रात दिन मैंने लगा के इतना बढ़िया प्रेजेंटेशन बनाया, उसके बाद बोलते हैं कि प्रेजेंटेशन में क्लैरिटी नहीं है. क्या बात कर रहे हो आप? Now, one among those seniors whom I gave the feedback was my boss. And then this feedback was not given my boss, but some other senior. And then later on, my boss called me and then he actually asked me, okay, you received that feedback. What do you think regarding that feedback? And obviously, I told him that, well, I didn't like that feedback much because I have worked hard on that presentation. And I think I gave a very good presentation. So he asked me, so you don't accept that or you don't agree with that feedback? I said, no, I don't agree. So he then gave me a few, pointers that it's very important also from the point of view of the person who is actually giving you feedback. So sometimes when we give feedback, we simply give the feedback. But it is very important that the person who is giving the feedback should actually express the good intentions behind sharing the feedback with us. This was something that I was actually reading in MIT Sloan Management Review. In one of the articles, they actually talked about it, that when you give a feedback, it's very important to tell that person that my intention of sharing this feedback is keeping your success in mind. मैं ये feedback इसीलिए दे रहा हूं ताकि इस feedback के जरिए आप successful हो पाए. That's my intention. So it's very important to clarify that intention. ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरा तो हमेशा intention वही रहता है, आप समझ लेना. So the person who is giving the feedback, for that person, it is also important that he or she clearly mentions that I'm sharing this feedback for your keeping your success in mind. So that way, the person to whom we are giving the feedback, that person becomes receptive. वो थोड़ा सा खुल के feedback लेने के लिए राजी होते हैं, open होते हैं mentally. Now, from the perspective of the person who is actually taking the feedback, accepting the feedback, we say that accept the feedback gracefully. That's the point we are talking about in the strategy number 1. For that person, what is most important is to actively listen to the person who is giving the feedback. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने मतलब कान से सुन रहे हो बट पूरा दिमाग बंद करके रख दिया. Then there is no point taking the feedback, right? What do you mean by actively listening to the feedback? Actively listening to the feedback का मतलब ये होता है कि आप eye contact बना के रखो with the person who is giving you the feedback, and बीच-बीच में सर को हिलाया करो. इंडिया में हम लोग सर को अलग-अलग तरीके से हिलाते हैं, राइट? ऐसा 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 ऐसा. तो बी क्लियर दैट आपका सर हिलाना एक ही तरीके से हो जिसका मीनिंग क्लियर हो, राइट? सो बीच-बीच में वो नॉड दीजिए. एंड ऑल्सो it's important that when the person is sharing the feedback, you do the paraphrasing. क्या मतलब है? किसी ने बोला कि I think you need to work on your presentation which requires clarity. So you can say that, oh, okay, so I understand. So what you're saying is that my presentation requires clarity, right? If I need to be more clear regarding the intent of the presentation. That's what you're trying to tell me, right? And the person says that, yes, exactly, that's what I wanted to tell you. So it would prove that yes, you are a very good listener. That's the testament that you are a very good listener when you are rephrasing the point that the person has told you. So that's why that is very important, the active listening part. Another part which is very important for receiving the feedback properly is to reflect and note down. Now reflecting का मतलब जैसे हम लोगों ने पहले बताया कि when you telling the person back, the paraphrasing part, उसको भी reflection बोला जाता है. And reflection का ये भी होता है कि आपने अगर note किया कि yeah, thank you for the feedback, I'm just noting it down so that I can work on this, right? So जब आप उसको note down करते हो उस इंसान के सामने, then you are showing respect to the person who is giving you feedback, and which is very important in the process of taking the feedback gracefully. That's why we are saying you should take the feedback gracefully. The other part on how to take the feedback properly is you need to ensure that you are separating the person from the behavior. That means the person who is giving you the feedback, वो फीडबैक आपको नहीं दिया जा रहा है, आपके बिहेवियर को दिया जा रहा है, ये आपके स्किल को दिया जा रहा है, ये आपके इंप्रूवमेंट एरिया को दिया जा रहा है. Not to you as an individual. It is not given to me, said Dhritiman. You as a person. No. Dhritiman, your presentation skill, the script of the presentation, the type of presentation that you made, there I'm giving the feedback for that, not to you. Yeah. So we need to separate the person from the behavior and the improvement area. It's very important. Otherwise वो person अच्छा मुझे बोल रहे हो क्या, तुम क्या करते हो, right? We get into those personal things. We need to be careful from getting personal. Next ये आता है as a part of receiving the feedback gracefully is very important कि खाली feedback लेके हम लोग चुप ना रहे, feedback के ऊपर थोड़ा काम भी कर लें, right? और इसके लिए you can make a few action steps कि मुझे अगर मेरा presentation skill अच्छा करना है, चलो मैं going forward I will be actually reworking on the to provide better clarity on my presentation. Maybe I will ask my would-be audience what exactly you want to understand in this, what exactly you want to see in my presentation, and on the basis of what they want to see, accordingly I can actually construct the content of my presentation. That's the first part, is receiving the feedback. So अगर आपके करियर में ग्रो करना है, फीडबैक को अगर यूज करना है ग्रोथ के लिए, सबसे पहले आपको फीडबैक रिसीव करना सीखना पड़ेगा. So that's what we explained here, how to receive the feedback. In the process हम लोगों ने ये भी बात की importance for the person who's giving the feedback. Now here we will spend a little bit of more time into this particular aspect in our second strategy. So हमारा second strategy है giving constructive feedback. किस तरह से constructive feedback दिया जाए? Please understand that while receiving feedback may be directly connected to your career goal, giving feedback is also. कैसे? मैं किसी दूसरे को फीडबैक दूं, उसके साथ मेरा करियर का क्या कनेक्शन है, राइट? सवाल आता है राइट दिमाग में. So let me just explain why I'm saying that even giving feedback is also important for your career growth. Consider you as a team leader, as a manager. As a manager or as a team leader, believe me, आपका success आपके टीम के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. Do you agree with me or not on that point? If you agree, put it on the comment section that yes, I agree. आपका success in your career depends upon the success of your team members. If you are a team leader or if you are a manager, it is very important for you to ensure that your team is successful. Isn't it so? So Rakesh is saying yes, he agrees. Yes, thank you so much for saying that. So that's why when you give feedback to your team members, help them to grow. At the end, it is helping you to grow in your career. So that's why, as a team leader, as a manager, it is important that you also learn how to give कंस्ट्रक्टिव फीडबैक। कंस्ट्रक्टिव फीडबैक का मतलब ये होता है कि अकेले बोलने के लिए मत बोलो, ऐसा कुछ बोलो जिससे द पर्सन who is receiving the feedback can actually use that for his or her growth. Yeah, Deep is also saying yes, that's true. Thank you so much for your confirmation. Now, ये जो कंस्ट्रक्टिव फीडबैक देना है, इसको किस तरह से दें? सबसे पहला इसमें आता है uplifting feedback. Now, what is uplifting feedback? It's very important कि जब हम किसी को फीडबैक दे रहे हैं, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दिस इज अ ह्यूमन नेचर। जब कोई मेरे बारे में कुछ बोल रहा है, हमारे जो डिफेंसिव मैकेनिज्म है ऑफ आवर ब्रेन गेट्स एक्टिव। जैसे ही कोई आता है, मैं आपके बारे में कुछ बोलना चाहता हूँ, अच्छा क्या बोलेगा बंदा, कुछ गलत बोल दिया तो। सो दैट इज ह्यूमन टेंडेंसी, हमारा डिफेंसिव मैकेनिज्म, वी गेट डिफेंसिव इमीडिएटली। दैट्स ह्यूमन नेचर, हैपेंस विद मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल, मोस्ट ऑफ द ह्यूमन बीइंग। नाउ इसीलिए जब भी आप फीडबैक देना शुरू करते हो, स्टार्ट विद लिटिल बिट ऑफ अपलिफ्टिंग और मोटिवेटिंग सेंटेंस। On the same example of your presentation lacks clarity, that is the feedback that somebody wants to give. I want to give somebody a feedback, your presentation lacks clarity. सबसे पहले मुझे शुरू करना चाहिए with a motivating comment saying that, well, it looks like you have worked hard for your presentation. That was a very detailed presentation. Super. Thank you for your hard work in trying to make that presentation so good. But here, I believe that there is something which can help you improve your presentation and thereby make better impact of your presentation to the audience to whom you're giving the presentation, right? So you're also telling your intention why you want to give that feedback. So that's the uplifting feedback. That's the first thing that you need to do here. The second thing, as a part of the giving constructive feedback, I call it idea for mutual improvement ritual. So what is this idea for mutual improvement ritual? Let me just explain. Again, मैं same example लूंगा और उसके बाद हम लोग ritual में आएंगे. सबसे पहले, what is the mutual improvement? Mutual improvement ये है कि if I am giving feedback to my team members or you are giving feedback to your team members and you are telling them कि जब आप अपना प्रेजेंटेशन अच्छी तरह से क्लैरिटी के साथ करते हो तो आपके जो ऑडियंस है, ऑडियंस को क्लैरिटी मिलता है। वो ऑडियंस, इफ दे आर द डिसीजन मेकर्स इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, व्हेन दे आर गेटिंग क्लैरिटी फ्रॉम योर प्रेजेंटेशन, possibility that your suggestions will be accepted in the organization is very high. And if when your suggestion is accepted to the organization, for our team, it is a good thing. As a team, we become successful, right? So that's the mutual improvement. And that's the benefit of the mutual improvement when I give a good feedback to somebody and that person improves. So that's why I call it, that's an idea for mutual improvement. As a person who is giving the feedback, you should actually give that idea saying that with this together, it's a good thing for you, it's a good thing for all of us, right? Now, हम लोग इसको ritual क्यों बोल रहे हैं कि you can actually make it a practice that every month you create a sort of a routine of talking to your people, your team members, and give them some feedback. Okay, give them some constructive feedback. Maybe it can be one-on-one, it can be to a group of people, and also tell that why that feedback is important for the group as a whole, for the team as a whole, right? That's where the mutual improvement will happen. Hope this point is clear to you. Let me just I just thought of sharing one particular case study here. Since I work in the supply chain domain, possibly I'll pick up something as an example from the supply chain domain only. This happened many years back, and wherein one of my colleague was missing the say delivery performance, on-time delivery performance KPI in the supply chain for a very long term, for a very long time. So this person was missing that on-time delivery performance for which this person was responsible. Now, I had to give that person a feedback that he has to improve the delivery performance so that it helps the organization, right? And it also helps the person grow in his career because that is one of the KPIs. Now here, I had to construct my feedback in such a way so that I can tell that person that there is a mutual benefit we'll be getting. What is that mutual benefit? Number one, when you meet your on-time delivery target by working on improvement areas, then your KPI is met. When your KPI is met, the organization makes its customers happy. And as a result, the entire organization grows and the department also develops. So that's the mutual benefit that we get. And in that mutual benefit, what also happens that you can touch upon how it impacts the career of the person. Because if the KPIs are not met with, possibly that will impact the growth possibility, growth probability of that individual in the organization, right? So that way you are telling that person that this is the importance of meeting this KPI, and that's why I'm giving you this particular feedback. Give that clarity to that person. So that's one of the personal example that I wanted to share with you. So this is the second strategy that we talked about is how do you give that constructive feedback. Now coming to the third and the last strategy is how do you integrate the feedback in your professional growth? Well, that's what we are interested to know about. How do I integrate that feedback into my professional growth, professional journey, success in my career? सबसे पहला इसमें ये आता है कि आपको ना, जैसे कि हम लोग बता रहे थे, आपको एक्शन लेने पड़ेंगे, चुपचाप बैठने से नहीं होगा. जैसे ही आपको कोई फीडबैक मिल जाता है, उस फीडबैक के ऊपर you need to start working. Don't keep quiet. So you need to take certain actionable goals here, that if I have to improve upon my communication skills, presentation is a part of communication skill. You understand, right? So we started with that example of presentation. That's why I'm actually talking about the communication skill. Now, if my communication skill has to improve, I need to work on understand first which part of communication skill I have to improve. Is it my क्या मेरा इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग अच्छा होना है? क्या मेरा लोगों से हंस के बात करना इंप्रूव करना है? क्या मेरा लिसनिंग स्किल इंप्रूव करना है? क्या मेरा ईमेल राइटिंग इंप्रूव करना है? क्या मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन प्रिपरेशन इंप्रूव करना है? I need to know that. So you talk to that person, understand कि मुझे क्या चीज एक्चुअली इंप्रूव करना है. Once you get that visibility, you need to take a few action steps so that you can actually prepare a goal. In next 3 months, I'll be working on this particular goal, improving on my email writing etiquette को improve करना है. So that's what will be my goal for the next 3 months time. तो उस हिसाब से आपको थोड़े एक्शंस स्टेप्स लेने पड़ेंगे and create this feedback loop in the teams. तो इसका मतलब क्या होता है? इसका मतलब ये होता है कि remember, in the corporate you are not alone. In most of the cases you are working in a team. It may not be your direct team, but it can be indirectly you'll be working on a team. What is the meaning of direct and indirect? Direct team could be you are working in a group, you are a supervisor, you have people working with you, or you have peer group working with you on the same project. So that's a team. That's the direct team. The indirect team could be you are working on a particular project for your department, but that project, for successful execution of the project, you are dependent on somebody from sales department, somebody from HR department, somebody from legal department. They are also your peers, right? So that's how I'm talking about the team part. Now, what is that feedback loop that you can create? Understand that everybody in the organization is trying to grow. everybody in the organization wants to be successful in their career. Well, Deep has a point. Let me just read it. Please conduct one session on how to add value to organization apart from regular transactions. Okay, sure. We will create one particular session on that topic. Thank you so much for mentioning that, Deep. So as far as the feedback loop is concerned, here you can actually create a group of like-minded people in your team, saying that मैं आपको feedback दूंगा, आप मुझे feedback देना. Understood? मैं आपको feedback दूंगा, आप मुझे feedback देना. And create some sort of cadence that every month, say thrice or 4 times a month, possibly once in a week, you people will actually give feedback to each other. And you'll not only stop there. On the feedback, you will take action items, and on those action items, you will discuss the progress of your work on that particular action. So that is called, you can create a feedback loops in your team. So it'll work, keep on working like a loop. The other thing here that you can utilize the same concept as a feedback loop is you as a team leader and your team member a feedback loop. That means you give feedback to your team member and your team member gives you feedback as a upward feedback. Now, for this, obviously, it requires a little bit of maturity in your management capability. Sometimes for a supervisor or a team leader, it becomes very difficult to take a feedback from a team member. So there you need maturity. And even though that maturity is not there, I will encourage you start doing it so that slowly and steadily that maturity will be built over period. अगर डर के बैठ गए वो मैच्योरिटी कभी नहीं बनेगा और आप कभी भी अच्छे मैनेजर, अच्छे टीम लीडर, अच्छे लीडर नहीं बन पाओगे. So somewhere you need to start that activity, even though it looks like very, very challenging. Now, the other thing that in terms of how you can integrate the feedback in the professional growth, I will say that here to some extent the manager or the team leader can take ownership, and at the same time the person, the team member can also take ownership. Now, believe me, when we talk about this career growth journey, we talk about you. We don't talk about your manager, right? Because your growth is your responsibility. My growth is my responsibility, not somebody else sitting on the top. So many a times हम लोग सोचते हैं वो ऊपर वाला है, वो देख लेगा मेरा growth. No. It is your responsibility. It is your accountability. It is your life. So here, the third part on this particular aspect, what I would suggest is it's called challenge and build meetings. इसका मतलब ये होता है कि as a team leader, to give constructive feedback to your team members, you can actually create a forum. You can actually create a sort of a routine, a practice wherein you ask your team members to come and present their ideas. You give them a challenge कि आपको आना है और आपको आपका जो suggestion and idea है उसको present करना है. And when they present, even though under pressure from you, but you are actually creating an opportunity for their growth. When they come and present, you give them feedback, constructive feedback. ये नहीं कि biased feedback, किसी के individuality के ऊपर कुछ आपने comment कर दिया as a manager. No, that's not feedback. A constructive feedback, not to the person but to the skill that is needed to be improved, right? तो उस हिसाब से आप अगर ऐसा create कर सकते हो माहौल, then it will be very good. If as a team member you want your manager to do it, you can possibly propose it to your manager saying that give me an opportunity to present my ideas in a forum, or the project that I am working on, give me an opportunity to present that project to a forum wherein senior members will be there, because I want to get a feedback on my presentation skills and how I have prepared my work on this project, or how I'm progressing on the project. So you can do that. So that is called challenge and build meetings. So these are the 3 strategies, my dear friends, I wanted to share with you this evening today. I hope you received a little bit of learning from today's session, if it has helped you learning a little bit, not a lot, then you can share your comment on the comment section. And what you can also do is that you can share this with others who requires a similar kind of learning. You think that it is going to help them. Remember, when you talk about feedback, it's not just about just pointing out what is the wrong in the other person, right? Through feedback, you're actually opening the doors to new possibilities for that person, right? So it's a very important activity. Everyone should do this. Everyone should try to see how they can get feedback. And as a team member, as a team leader, as a supervisor, you should also try to give constructive feedback to your team members, because together we win, not alone we win, right? So that's my hope and wish. Let it help you to reach a richer career experience in your career. Let me know which of this is strategy resemblance to you. Yeah, Madhu is saying it's true. It's really helpful. Thank you so much, Madhu, for your comment. Thank you so much for your presence here. So friends, in case you have found any one particular strategy meeting to your kind of thing that you like, then you can put it in the comment section that this particular part of the strategy mujhe bahut acha laga, and this is something I also do, right? So that will encourage me to make more such content come to you, presented to you. Thank you so much for your presence. In case, as I said, if you find this useful, then share it with your friends and family members. Help others also to grow. Thank you so much, and we will connect again in the subsequent Sunday. Not sure if it is next Sunday, but yes, in the subsequent Sunday, I will let you know in advance. I will announce the topic and the date when we are coming live. Thank you so much for your presence. Giving constructive feedback. Yes. Thank you. Good night. Take care. Bye-bye.